fundamental core skill along with that of reading, writing and numeracy, and recognise that digital literacy has become increasingly critical for individuals' participation in education, work and their personal lives. A number of examples of digital literacy frameworks have been developed, including the GISC Digital Digital Capabilities Framework and the European Union's Digital Competence 2.0. So the GISC framework identifies 6 elements of digital capability. And unlike other frameworks, it includes the element of digital learning and development. And this is of great importance to lifelong learning. Digital literacy is closely related to digital inclusion. Digital inclusion, according to the Australian Digital Inclusion Index, is based on the premise that everyone should be able to make full use of digital technologies in order to manage their health and well-being, access education and services, organise their finances, and connect with friends and family and the world beyond. Digital inclusion is not just about computers and internet technology. It is about using online and mobile technologies as channels to improve skills, enhance quality of life, drive education, and promote economic well-being across all elements of society. The Australian Digital Inclusion Index has been collecting data on Australia's overall digital inclusion since 2014, with successive reports released each year and special reports on individual states and territories. The ADII measures 3 dimensions of inclusion, access, affordability, and digital ability. In 2020, the ADII report found that 2.5 million Australians remain completely offline, although this number is decreasing. The digital divide between high-income and low-income households remains, and the gap between those employed and those not in the labour force is increasing. Digital ability remains an area for further improvement, and under half of all Australians think that computers will give them control of their lives, and less than 40% of Australians feel they can keep up with the changing technological landscape. Affordability remains a key challenge, and more than 4 million Australians' access to the internet is solely through their mobile phone connection. People aged 65 plus remain Australia's least digitally included age group. Digital inclusion is significantly higher in capital cities than in country areas, and collaboration across all levels of government is needed to improve digital skills. Now, I need to note here that this project and also the findings of the 2020 Digital Inclusion Index were completed before COVID. So it will be really interesting to see what happens with what the next digital inclusion report will reveal. So the aim of my research project was to meet with volunteer participants from both the community and public library staff from different locations throughout Queensland to gain an understanding of how the community experiences digital literacy in their everyday lives, the challenges or opportunities they saw in an ever-changing digital world, and how libraries were supporting their communities in building their digital capabilities. Using a constructivist grounded theory approach, 10 semi-structured interviews were conducted with 6 community participants and 4 public library staff from the capital city area of Brisbane and also regional and rural Queensland. Interview questions were guided by GISC's 6 elements of digital capability, and participants were asked to reflect on their current experiences and also how this has changed over the past 5 years. All interviews were conducted face-to-face, with recording of the interview being transcribed for analysis, and there was over 70,000 words to transcribe. All data was de-identified with pseudonyms being used and locations changed. 14 library services from across Queensland were invited to participate. All volunteer community participants were female, aged over 40, and library staff participants were both male and female and ranged in ages from their 20s to their 50s. This research project was approved by CSU's Ethics Committee. So the first element is functional skills. Functional skills, according to JISC, includes the use of ICT-based devices, applications, software and services, and the use of ICT-based tools to carry out tasks effectively, productively, and with attention to quality. Participants had a range of responses about their use of information and communication technology, and all acknowledged using digital devices and applications every day. Responses range from very high use to lower use, where participants just checked their emails or checked a news site only. All participants described a range of ICT devices that they used at home, including Google Home devices, computers, laptops, tablets, smartphones, smartwatches, GoPros, MP3 players, etc. Only one participant, Camilla, did not own a smartphone. Age and working status were the biggest indicator of high use of digital technologies, and this was similar for both capital city and country participants. Chloe and Charlie, who were both working full-time and aged in their 40s, described a high use of technology throughout the day. Charlotte, who was no longer working full-time but was heavily involved within her local U3A, also had a high level of technology throughout the day. While Camilla, Celia and Clara described their use as low, with their main daily use being to check their emails, some research, online banking and paying bills, and Clara used Facebook and Messenger to catch up with family and friends. All participants believed the use of ICT-based devices and applications had increased significantly over the past 5 years. And all participants indicated they were spending a lot more time online, and this included tasks such as online banking and shopping. While all participants described using online banking and shopping, for Clara and Camilla, the move to online banking was caused by the closure of their local bank branch, and they also described relying on online government services because of the closure of their local Centrelink and Medicare branches. All participants were also making use of online shopping, from buying goods over the internet, planning and booking travel and accommodation, entertainment and other services online. All library staff expressed a concern about some people in their communities not having the necessary digital skills to function in everyday tasks. All libraries had PCs and Wi-Fi that were heavily used, and staff had noticed that there was an increase in people bringing their own devices into the library space to both use the space and the Wi-Fi. Laura from a regional library shared that this had caused a change in how the library was used, and providing adequate spaces such as charge points was becoming increasingly important. From the fellow who needs to charge his phone, the person who needs to print out or complete online forms, right through to the person conducting their business inside the library space. Critical use, according to JISC, is having the capacity to find, evaluate, manage, curate, organise and share digital information, the capacity to collate, manage, access and use digital media, and the capacity to critically receive and respond to messages in a range of media. When asked about how they find information, all participants responded with the word Google, while other search engines were mentioned, such as Bing and DuckDuckGo. All participants indicated they preferred and consistently used Google to find information online. Once results were returned, for the information they were seeking, all participants spoke of checking other sources to evaluate whether the information was correct. All participants spoke of looking at the source of the information and only using reputable and known sources, while others actually looked at reviews or comments to see what others were saying about the information or the product. When asked about the ways they protected their personal data, in responding to this question, all participants' initial response was to indicate whether or not they were on Facebook. This was an interesting observation from all interviews with community participants, as the word Facebook was not in the question at all. Participants also provided additional responses, including only using secure sites that have a padlock in the URL, purchasing antivirus software protection, changing their passwords, to being careful with what they purchased and also what they put online about themselves. There was consistency across participants from the city and the country and in age groups. Although Chloe, who has been online for her work and personal life for a long time, provided a response that was very honest. And you can see here that she admits that she doesn't read the fine print and the terms and conditions, and that she was okay with her decision. She says here, tick, 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 yes, 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 just take me through to the program. Participants were also asked to consider whether they had ever come across anything that they had considered to be fake news. All participants indicated that they were aware of fake news and were able to provide examples of where they had heard or seen it. Charlie and Chloe provided examples where there was quite a bit of sophistication in order to make the fake news look legitimate. And Camilla and Celia both commented that fake news had been around for a long time, not just since the birth of online news and social media. And here, Charlotte shares her feelings that she is a sceptical person and she comes from that kind of base. I've got a critical literacy background, so if I'm looking at something seriously, not just scanning, I'd be asking the questions, whose voices aren't here? Is there a bias? And then deliberately go the other way. There's examples of certain things I don't like, and I tend to trash things quickly if I don't think there's a degree of legitimacy to it. All libraries said they supported the community in understanding information, data and media literacies. However, this was mostly at the point of contact, point of need of the client, in the 5 to 15 minutes they could spend with someone in a one-on-one basis. All libraries mentioned they were eSmart libraries, and some libraries had programs which the community could attend or view online. To increase their skills in this area, such as Tech Tips, Tech Savvy Seniors and the Be Connected program. GISC describes creative production as the capacity to design and or create new digital artefacts and materials, the capacity to use digital evidence to solve problems and answer questions, and the capacity to adopt and develop new practices with digital technology. The questions in this area provided the least responses, with many participants simply saying they weren't creative. Participants over the age of 60 were least confident in this area. Celia and Camilla indicated that they had only recently learnt to transfer photos from their phone or camera to their laptop or computer when asked this question. Chloe, who creates and maintains many websites and uses digital tools creatively throughout her work and personal life, noted that her use had increased in the past 5 years, and the main difference now was that she had to pay for website hosting, software, extra storage on her Google Drive, Dropbox and other cloud services. Charlie, who works as a special education teacher in a regional Queensland school, spoke about creating apps and developing a reading program for students at her school. who were non-verbal or had difficulty communicating, and the surprising success of the app and that provided, and how well the students had responded to using iPads and other technology. All library staff indicated that their libraries were supporting the community with digital creation, problem solving and innovation. Examples of this included school holiday programs to create YouTube videos, stop motion movies, adult programs in using software like Adobe, 3D printing and VR sets. Laura from a regional library service explained that there had been changes in her library to the service provision following successful grant applications. And Liam from a regional library shared that it's understanding the digital environment and exposing to the public to that as much as humanly possible. To see a different perspective, it definitely helps in terms of innovation. People seeing education from a different point of view, as opposed to the usual, there's a book, open it up. Now you can kind of be in the book. Responses to questions in this area saw younger participants who were working and using digital tools to a far greater extent for digital communication, collaboration and participation than those who were over 60 and no longer working. All participants used email, text messages and phone calls daily to communicate, while Clara, Chloe and Charlie said they used Messenger. Charlotte spoke of using WhatsApp, and Charlotte and Chloe used LinkedIn for social networking. Charlotte and Clara were both on Facebook and Instagram, but used them in a limited capacity, whereas Chloe and Charlie spoke of a number of Facebook groups that they were involved in or had set up, where they communicated with large numbers of people locally, nationally, or even internationally. And for Chloe and Charlie, Facebook was a huge part of both their working and their personal life, and this had dramatically increased over the past 5 years. Charlie, a teacher from a regional Queensland school, shared, "So I guess it's impersonal, but then also very, very personal." She says that she's in contact with a lot of people, but not individually as such. But she also is still in contact with people that she ordinarily would have lost contact with. So she says it's a catch-22 situation because you're heavily involved in people's lives, but you're also very distant from people as well. Lucy and Lily from Capital City Libraries indicated that they had seen an increased amount of support in the community in the area of digital communication, collaboration and participation. Laura and Liam said their libraries also provided basic assistance to the community in setting up email accounts, navigating social media and communicating through Skype and FaceTime. Lily from a Capital City library shared that Facebook and Instagram were mostly used by library clients to communicate with family and friends, and that they did that on devices in the library or using the library PCs. She also noticed that there was an increase in businesses asking her library for assistance in setting up business pages. Lucy from a different Capital City library commented that the free Wi-Fi really helps some people communicate and collaborate using whatever communication tools or apps they needed to connect with others digitally. But their physical meeting spaces were really important for digital collaboration, either for individuals connecting with the world or for groups to participate in group work with that digital collaboration. According to JISC, digital learning and development is the capacity to participate in and benefit from digital learning opportunities and the capacity to support others in digitally rich settings. All community participants shared that they felt they learnt a lot from their online searching. 4 participants mentioned using YouTube clips to learn. Celia, a regional participant, said she liked to learn using massive online open courses. Charlotte spoke about how she used podcasts to learn, and how she likes to listen to them both in English and in German. Clara and Camilla from regional Queensland said they enjoyed completing training at their local community organisations or libraries to assist with their digital learning. And both Celia and Charlotte reflected on the changes that had occurred in how people learn formally over the years and the opportunities that were available out there. Chloe and Charlie both expressed that they were the go-to people when colleagues or friends and family required assistance in digital learning, in learning digital technologies. All library staff interviewed agreed that their libraries were supporting the community in digital learning and development at the point of need, with all libraries providing varying levels of assistance and programs. Programs ranged from the one-on-one sessions, small group sessions using devices that the library provided, large presentations and outreach to schools and community groups. And these were conducted both by library staff and from external providers. Lucy and from a capital city library spoke about promoting lynda.com to her clients, and Lily shared that one-on-one consultations with staff worked best with her clients at the capital city library service. Laura and Liam from regional libraries both shared experiences of programs to develop basic digital literacy skills using tablets or email or Microsoft Word, through to digital art and virtual reality programs such as Tech Trek, Google Expeditions, or using robots such as Spheros.
Kate, we need to wrap up.
Okay. So this self-actualization and digital identity and well-being looks at projecting a positive digital identity. And interestingly, all participants asked to clarify what digital identity and well-being meant. So Camilla shares here that she believes she's becoming more suspicious and less inclined to put anything out there. She's less trusting. And she says it's not just the financial cost, but also a drain on resources. Another example here that you can read later is one that shows that confusion about digital identity and well-being and what it means to Charlotte. All library staff mentioned that they were eSmart accredited libraries, and 3 library staff indicated that their libraries mostly supported the community in their digital identity and wellbeing at that face-to-face point of need. 1 library spoke of a very successful digital health literacy program. And an example here.
To wrap up, Kate, because we don't have time for questions.
Okay. So other themes that were developed were the importance of ways of learning, including peer and workplace learning, and that was really strong. We need those go-to people in our workplace that we can go to, and also in our friends and family groups. The fear of the unknown and technology was changing at a rapid rate, and that was from all participants, shared that fear. And with libraries, it was the importance of grant funding for emerging technologies such as virtual reality and augmented reality. Thank you.